Welcome one, welcome all back to the Champion Forge, where we make League of Legends champions out of absolutely nothing. My name is Fitch, joined by Exodus, and today we are taking our inspiration from a very special place that is near and dear to both mine and Exodus's hearts, as you might be able to tell by the giant, scary Illidan on your screen. It's Warcraft, or more specifically, Warcraft 3.
And all I can say is, Pete, that we are not prepared for this stream. Actually, that is not true, because we are very prepared for this one. Because we were gonna be live last week, but we did so much research before the stream that we said, "Oh, it's already, I think, 11:30 or something,"
Yeah.
and then we said we can't really stream anymore.
Oh boy, this is the stuff we go through for you guys. Because, Warcraft 3, it's a hugely influential game. I mean, so much came out of this. These heroes here being the basis for all of the MOBAs that come after it. I'm trying to remember the names of everything. So, of course, you have Defense of the Ancients, you have Aeon of Strife. I think there was something else, Blood something.
Heroes of New Earth, I think, was also one I played. What are other like MOBAs that took off? Because I remember, like, let's say 2015, you really saw the resurgence. Well, not resurgence, but the creation of all these MOBAs. They were just pumping them out almost at a certain time, and a lot of them died, but some of them survived.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think we all owe a huge amount to all of that. So what we've done here is to go back through. We've done, so as we said, we've done a little bit of pre-research here, because as we found out, it took an enormous amount of time to go through all of these. So there's a lot of heroes here where either the abilities, well, first of all, we've got the heroes whose abilities are just honestly too boring to really bring in. There's some extremely straightforward stuff, like the Paladin has a heal which is literally just a straight heal and has nothing more to it apart from doing damage to undead, which is slightly more interesting than it could be. But there's a lot of junk in here, but but we're trying to find the good stuff. So I think it behooves us to mention the things that have already been harvested, because it's worth noting where they came from. I mean, this isn't necessarily the original place they came from in terms of design, but this is the oldest place that we can find them from. So which ones have we got which have already been pretty well harvested that we can sort of point to? This is now this League of Legends champion.
Okay, let me once again open up the doc that we made and go through all of our notes, because it was kind of, some of them, to be honest, some of them we this seems oddly familiar. Some of the abilities we recognized. I want to say Blade Master. I think not. Blade Master was kind of split into Shaco and Garen at a certain point in time, I'm guessing, especially his first two abilities, or like his passive ability, where he got more crit chance. That was very reminiscent of Shaco's old E. Something we also saw was a lot of the Warcraft 3 heroes had passive abilities that were later on incorporated into some League champion or some Dota champion. Although I have to be honest, I'm not particularly well known in all the Dota champions. I know some of them, but I'm not enough to say, I know what I'm talking about. But the passive abilities we kind of wanted to move away from a bit, because it's not really passive abilities were, you can implement them well into a RTS game like Warcraft 3, for example, like a StarCraft. By the way, we're not sponsored by Blizzard, but if they want to sponsor us. But it means that you had more stuff to do on screen. You only have 4 abilities in League, so it's okay if you don't have, you don't need a passive ability in some of those kits. But in Warcraft 3, if you already have 3 heroes and you have loads for the units, you're already slamming down on those keyboards. I think sometimes when you would have a champion with a passive ability, you're like, thank Christ, I don't have another skill to manage.
Hey, Benny. Yes, so I guess honestly that all summed up as being in an RTS game, which Warcraft 3 is, you've got a bunch of units. In League of Legends, you've generally got one. Anubarak equals Rek'Sai. I think there's definitely it's touchback. Actually, we'll come back to Anubarak later on, but yes, I think there's a lot of in terms of actual sort of design, sort of physically, there's a lot of similarities there. But let's go through and just quickly touch on some of the stuff that's similar. So mirror image, you mentioned before.
Shaco.
Yeah, so this is Shaco's mirror image. This is probably the thing that's the most unique about the Blade Master, is that they can create duplicates of themselves. So yeah, Shaco just has this. We've got the passive there, which is particularly interesting. But then we do have Garen's spin, which is which is really the iconic thing about the Blade Master, is just that they spin around. Unfortunately, we don't have actually a... do we have a picture of this in here?
I
No,
don't
just a picture
actually
of the build
know.
today.
No, and the thing is, because you can say, yeah, but the champ. So all of the times we're thinking, okay, but how original is a certain idea? For example, you know, two groups of people can come up with the same thing, right? But for example, like the Blade Master, his invisibility thing is also his first ability. So a lot of these things were very much in line to how certain champions designed. There are some exceptions, like the mirror image is not. It's, I think, his second ability. I'm not sure, but then again, the spin to win. So the Blade Master spinning and doing AOE damage. He also has spell immunity, which, and I think old school Garen, when he was spinning, he got like more tenacity, or he took less magic damage. I know there was something in there that wasn't exactly spell immunity, but it had something to do where you took less damage from spells, or you weren't stunned. And for example, when Garen is stunned, he will still spin. So you're never able to stop the spin. You are able to stop him moving anywhere. So that is very similar to his E. And a lot of these stuff kind of aligns with what we saw with other League champions.
All right, let's. I believe the other one which I remember is particularly. So the Warden, it's not one which I remember particularly using, but the Warden's abilities have definitely been very, very heavily translated across the League of Legends.
Yes.
So we've got, let's see, so we've got the Fan of Knives, which might sound familiar.
Literally the same name.
Yes, we've got Blink, which isn't quite the same. That is a very generic spell in the first place. We've got the damage over time from a sort of shot ability, which I suppose isn't exactly the same, but it's fairly similar.
And it was something, I think Talon used to have like a bleed effect as well, and the idea was that he hurled a poison, like the description was something similar, where he hurled a poison dagger at someone, and he did damage over time or something. So this is very much Talon, the Warden.
Yeah, like most of the good stuff in here has already been harvested. It's Old Tristana E. What was the Old Tristana E? It was because she's got the grenade that builds up. What did she used to have? I can't remember.
She used to have. It was a point and click where you did damage over time to someone. There was something.
Oh, it just burned, didn't it? It was just a burn.
Yeah, it was a burn effect. It was, I think the E is also the passive where you have.
The exploding shots. Yeah.
The exploding shot, exactly.
So the one thing which is particularly different here, because we can kind of say Warden is very close to Talon, but where it differs is we've got this Vengeance ultimate, which is basically Yorick's the Maiden in the Mist, effectively. In fact, it's almost exactly the same as the Maiden in the Mist. So it's kind of weird. This ability didn't really turn up, I think, in League of Legends until the most recent iteration of Yorick. But I mean, certainly we were kind of looking at this and trying to sort of figure out, where does this fit into this kind of kit where it's like jump at someone. You've got two different abilities which basically stab them, and Blink, which is jump to them so you can stab them some more. But then you've also got this big summon who is just creating a whole bunch of mooks.
And something we also discussed last time was that the Vengeance ultimate didn't really make sense in the kit of the Warden. The Warden is kind of like this rogue character, and she wants to go in a fight, assassinate someone, or do a large AoE and then get out. And then you had the Vengeance ultimate, which was thematically at least not what it should have been. And it should have been something where I think like an assassinate ability would have been cool in her kit, where even like an execute, where if the lower you are, the more damage your ability does. So the Warden could blink in, assassinate an important character that was already quite low, do massive amounts of damage, and then blink out. I think if you would have put that as an ultimate ability, the Warden would have made much more sense to pick as a hero.
Yeah, I think some of this probably comes from being in an RTS game where it's not quite as laser focused as it would be in League of Legends. But yeah, I mean, I guess how presumably you would just use this when you kind of go in, you kill a bunch of enemies, and then these sort of spirits come in to cover your escape or just keep you going. But I don't even know at this point in terms of ability design if they were even including. We didn't see any percentage health based abilities or
No,
like
never.
executes.
No, never. We never saw any. It was always flat out damage. Never. There was. I don't think there was a single ability that did. I don't think there's a single ability in the entirety of Warcraft 3 that does percent damage, which I kind of agree with. Now I'm thinking about it because it makes balancing the game a lot more easier. Because one of the things League has run into over the years is the addition of doing percent damage means sometimes it becomes difficult to kind of balance something. I mean, Silver Bolts, Blade of the Ruined King, a lot of that jazz is difficult to balance in one way or the other.
Let's see. So just having a quick check through the various different other things we looked at. So the Alchemist, the one down here, we won't go. Where are they down here? I think they were kind of interesting. They had an interesting ultimate, which was to turn a unit into gold. But I don't think that I think that we noted that they were kind of thematically somewhat similar to Mundo. They've actually, the healing spray they've got is sort of mechanically like, I think there actually is another ability that's like the damage version of this for a different character. But that is, this mechanically works as the Rumble Flame Spitter or Fire Spitter, whatever it's called. There's this one's just a self buff, an AoE grenade, and a transmute that just kills something and gives you gold. Which is
also, I really have to hold back every time that I see a character to do the voice lines, because I still think Warcraft had the best voice lines in any game.
Warcraft just generally has always had really good voices.
I mean, it's a cookbook! A cookbook!
if you want to do that, feel free. So let's see. Blood Mage was the other one which we found kind of interesting. So the Siphon effect, which obviously Fiddlesticks is the main one who used it, is in here. But the Flame Strike is literally called the same thing in its brand's ability. And it does the same thing. So yeah, I mean, that's fairly straightforward. The Banish is one which we'll maybe come back to in a second. Siphon Mana, there is also a Siphon Health ability in Warcraft 3, but it's kind of in itself, it's a type of ability, which is like, it's got all these concerns about whether you're stood still and the other person can break it by running away far enough, or if it's like Karma's old tether, I guess like LeBlanc's tether now, where you both can be moving. Yeah.
The reason was because I think the Blood Mage was able to cast a lot of ability. He was able to continuously cast almost a very powerful ability, which was the Flame Strike. But he would run into mana issues, so they made him like, okay, but what if this is a character that can get mana from other people and still be extraordinarily powerful if he continues to use the Flame Strike to deal damage? I think he was a good hero to use. I'm not particularly sure anymore, but I think it was one of the better additions for the DLC, like Frozen Throne.
Yeah, I like Frozen Throne. I don't think it was as it's like the design. I didn't feel like they were as iconic as the stuff from the original. But,
no, definitely not.
So the one which we kind of found kind of interesting here was Banish, which is, it's kind of like, it's not quite a silence effect. So it slows the unit's movement speed by 50%. So it's just a slow, but it stops them from attacking. So it's kind of like a blind, but they also take more damage from magic attacks and spells, and I think it lasts for how long does it last for?
12 to 18 seconds depending on level.
Oh yeah, so 12 seconds if it's a regular unit, 4 seconds if it's the hero. So for our purposes, 4 seconds.
I think we discussed this last week, and we said, wouldn't it be interesting if you had a mechanic where you could banish someone and they were immune from AD damage, but they took, like, for example, a double amount or more damage from magic abilities. I think that would have been interesting in a supportive kit where you could, like, for example, take a LeBlanc or a Sinja and yet there's one character. For example, like a funnel strat. Against the funnel strat, you have the Master Yi, and you banish the Master Yi. In the process, yes, you make him immune to AD damage, or you give him like 100 armor, but you drain all of his magic resist, or you give him like a debuff against magic damage, meaning, okay, this is a champion you can assassinate because this is the one hero, this is the one champion that will make or break a team fight. And that might have been something cool Riot could have experimented with, where they said, hey, what if there's something that it doesn't do damage on its own, but if you combine it with an AP burst champion, you're allowed to get these, play around a certain champion, or you have a counter to that. Because I know funnel is still a thing that was extremely annoying in the higher echelons of Elo and ranked, and this might be a counter to it, where if you see Tariq Yi, you immediately know, okay, let's pick champion that has this ability with a Syndra, or the champion that has this ability with a LeBlanc.
Yeah, it definitely feels like this is an ability which has potential to be in League of Legends. So I'm just gonna try and make sure we're not getting spammed too much.
We do definitely want to become famous, but we want to do it legit.
Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, if I felt like I could, if I felt like I could get away with it, then I would maybe. I'd be like, I mean, well, getting rich quick. That seems like a lot less work than getting rich slowly. But yeah, like, so immediately the kind of stuff. So I've noted this down because we're going to be noting down the abilities we're going to be taking from this and bringing it into sort of the next section as we go. So this banish effect currently doesn't exist in League of Legends in this particular form. So this is something we could potentially be working with, even if it's only yeah. Well, you tell them we're already famous, internet famous. But yeah, like if you could have this be as a effect that you could do on an enemy or an ally, and maybe it has different lengths depending on who you use it on.
I think it's kind of cool because I imagine this ability you would be able to use it on both an ally and a enemy, because it has a con and a negative. It has a con and a pro built in it. So, for example, okay, we talked about using it on an enemy, but using it on an ally, yes, they become very perceptible to magic damage, but you also give them an extraordinary defense against AD damage for a couple of seconds. So you can also use it. You can also turn it around, saying, "Oh no, they have a Zed on the enemy team." So I mean, already all the Zed players are crying that Zhonya's exists. But then you could say, "Okay, so he wants to assassinate me. What if I quickly use this, and this particular hero gets 100 armor for like 2 or 3 seconds, but takes double damage or takes more damage from magic." So it's good against the Zed, or it's good against the Talon. Thinking like other, maybe even in the Kha'Zix or Rengar. I think against the Rengar, it would be amazing, because then you use the ability and you need to time it correctly, because he will jump on you. But if you, are able to ignore a lot of the damage from the initial jump, then you kind of save your hero, save your ally.
Alright, so we're definitely going to come back to the banish, because it seems like there's a lot of potential there. The Phoenix is basically just a summon with the initial passive. So it's all okay. But let's start getting into the stuff where we've got a little bit more going on. So, let's see.
I think Farseer was something. Oh no, the Lich with the Frost armor was something we also discussed. It could be useful.
So we had some ideas for sort of sacrificial style characters, and so Frost Nova, is Lissandra's thing, but the Frost armor, like, this is the one where we've kind of got a sort of a weird combination thing where this is an ability that could exist in League of Legends, even though it's, with the fact that it's autocast, it's sort of suggested that it seems like it's something that's intended to be used when you've got a lot of allies rather than just a couple.
No,
please.
I think what we said last week was, okay, imagine you're able to create frost armor, so you're giving a certain ally not a shield, but you enhance you have like a damage reduction, or literally just giving them armor, and you're able to use it on multiple allies. However, it is very mana intensive. So let's say you use armor, you have a frost armor, but it takes up like 40 mana a second, but you give them random numbers, 100 armor, like 50 armor, but you're able to and you can custom on multiple allies as well. So as a supportive hero, or maybe like something we did see Riot do now with Seraphine, where you have a sort of something between a support and a mage in the mid lane. You have this in the game where, okay, this mage isn't to, one of the things in your kit isn't to blow everything up or don't do loads of damage, but this mage can actually protect a load of your comp, can protect your team composition, at the drawback that it costs loads of mana the longer you keep it up.
Yeah, like, I think there definitely feels like there's some interesting stuff in there in terms of playing around with shields and kind of, like, I think as well, to say what's going across to the specific champion, there is also a somewhat related ability, the mana shield.
Yeah.
Which I think we're kind of like, we're trying to combine the frost armor. So the frost armor is more like you you fire it on someone and you forget about it. The mana shield is literally using your mana as a shield, so you take the damage on the mana rather than the shield itself. So I think we could probably find some kind of combination of like frost armor and mana shield to create a semi-new ability, which could be kind of fun. There's Dark Ritual, which is killer unit for mana, so being able to execute your own minions is not really a thing that exists because of the denial mechanic being only part of Dota now. But yeah, it's pretty toxic when you're new.
Death and Decay, I think it's isn't it like Karthus' E as well? Let me just look it up. I think it's just called Decay is his Q. I should know this play-by-play caster, by the way.
I mean, it's a big area of effect, sort of dot, and the main thing that sort of made it particularly notable was that it can work on buildings and it can also work on trees. So you could use it to clear a path. Like you can see, the mana cost is 250, which I assume is a lot, and the cooldown is long. So it's not like it's a thing you just spam around the place.
Okay, so his E is now called Defile, but it used to be called Death and Decay.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm guessing they changed that for copyright issues. Okay, which is fine, by the way. You don't want to take that risk. So okay, I get it. So that's why I was kind of it sounded familiar against Karthus.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this face, you say, this person seems a little familiar.
We do need to correct ourselves. 4% of it, 4% of his base hit points. So there is 1% damage ability in there.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
Oh, we were mistaken earlier. Okay.
All right. So definitely the frost armor feels like the thing which we can harvest from this kit as being interesting. So what else we got?
Priestess of the Moon. It says avoid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can just very quick, like we'll try and speed up as we go along. Where is the Priestess of the Moon?
Oh, we did say a hero who passively, maybe an ability that passively gains wards would be cool.
Oh yeah,
I think, but isn't that Fiddlesticks?
So Priestess of the Moon, just touching on it briefly, she's got the Ash Hawk Shot. Literally, the Hawk Shot is from here. Sirius is also Ash's old empowered auto attacks, and then just the aura for stuff. And mostly notable for having an ultimate that doesn't really seem to fit into her style at all. Which she had to stand completely still there before taking away her ability to auto attack and thus use her other ability to then do a massive AoE over time. But yeah,
the only reason people took Priestess of the Moon, if you would ever take her, was for her passive ability, where ranged attacks took more damage. So if you went like, okay, we're just gonna rush you with loads of archers, and you just took Priestess of the Moon, because then your archers do 30% more damage, and that was the only reason you would take Priestess of the Moon, because otherwise she was a pretty bad hero to use competitively.
All right, well let's start skipping ahead to some of the other stuff. So let's see. So the Demon Hunter was mainly notable for being able to transform and gain a different kind of attack type and things, but I don't think
Jace, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just the idea of having the changing of attack type is quite interesting. The Fire Seer, had the chain lightning, but everything else was fairly standard. The Vision of Empire ability for Swain also originated somewhat in this kit. Probably the weirdest one that I can see from our list is the Pandarin Brewmaster. So because they're from the expansion pack, they have they kind of gone a bit more wild with the mechanics. So you've got the Drunken Haze, which you've kind of got like a two-part ability here, which I don't think you've got anywhere else. At least in this kind of way, where you set up a unit with the Drunken Haze, with a debuff, and then you can cash that debuff in with a Breath of Fire to get an additional effect, which is the burning effect.
I like the idea. I think the only thing that is sort of in there in League is Cassiopeia, where you put down the Miasma and then you have the Twin Fangs continuously because you have the poison effect. But I like the idea, for example, where you would douse someone with, in this case, you would douse them with like alcohol, and then you ignite it with another ability. I thought that was cool. So maybe you could use this on. The reason we're doing this is to get inspiration for new champions, other abilities. And I kind of like the idea where you set something up and then you have one ability that actually works in conjunction with the other one. As in, both of them do okay, but subpar damage. But if you use them in conjunction, they do they work correctly. They work as in, you do loads of damage now. So the payoff is quite huge, but it's difficult, yes, because you have to hit two abilities. And I like it as a tank as well.
Yes, because we're not necessarily going to take away things like, in this case, giving them a chance to miss on attacks and things like that. But I think having that kind of ability to be sort of being a concern in a team fight, but this sort of intentionally giving you a little bit more variety as to what you can do. The passive is kind of boring, but the ultimate is crazy.
Earth, wind, and fire.
Nice.
Storm, earth, and fire. Sorry.
So this splits the Brewmaster into 3 different units that all actually have different abilities and things, or different sort of a passive or ability and things, which I don't know if we could ever really make anything like this, but it's certainly fascinating to see a pretty unique ultimate.
I think I like it. They kind of made it... so there are 2 iterations of this in Heroes of the Storm. One is the Lost Vikings, where you literally control 3 characters. And I think you have the Pandarin Brewmaster in there as well in Heroes of the Storm. And his ultimate, or one of his ultimates, because you can choose between ultimates in Heroes of the Storm, is where you split up in 3 different characters. The problem is that in League, summons are kind of clunky to work with. A lot of sometimes feedback or criticism is being put down on the way Tibbers is controlled or the Maiden is controlled in League of Legends, or even the Shaco clone. So if you want to have an ability like this exist in League, there needs to be some some overhaul over how you would control summons in League, or how you would say, okay, a different ideology how you would do summons, because you can see they're trying to move away from, you can control your summon to, like Daisy pretty much is an autopilot. A lot of the summons like Yorick Ghosts and Malzahar summons are just, you have no control over them. You can kind of direct them towards something with another ability, but on the whole, you just are not able to do anything with them.
Yeah, like this if we were going to try anything like this, I think we'd need to spend an entire episode specifically on trying to solve the idea of summons as a whole, and certainly having 2 summons as well. Like in reality, you're splitting into 1 active and then 2 summons with this. But yeah, I mean, the idea they've got here is they've got each of the summons has just 1 ability. So, that's definitely something which we could use if you effectively it became a transform where you wouldn't necessarily be controlling all of them directly, but you could activate their abilities from Q, W, and E, and they
definitely
originate from the different units. I think there's some potential there.
Yeah. So moving on to the Naga Sea, which was the mana shield we kind of discussed already a bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
where
we
you
would
would have
touch on that a second. I think that was all there was really. The tornado, yeah, forget about it.
Nothing really interesting. I think the forked lightning was too close to Swain's Q, so we weren't going to use it anyway.
Oh yeah, no, it was yeah. Swain already has that ability.
Yeah, the Dark Ranger was the charm where you swap a unit or control a unit. You know, that would have been interesting, but once again, you go into summon area where okay, so what are you actually able to control? If you're able to control minions or take over minions, then you go into the same problem as you have with, or that's something Riot doesn't want. And if you can control, I think this would be cool to control like a blue buff or something, where you can say hey, you take a blue buff on your side or something along those lines, or you could take a jungle camp that fights for you.
I think yeah, because what we did have that before on Mordekaiser, that he did that with a dragon. Certainly, like there is an idea of doing that. With more targets. Like, I think again, like that's a lot of design space is being held back by the whole thing of that summons are wonky currently, and so it's not being encouraged to go down that kind of path.
Actually, there might be if this is too wild, or if you just say this is a bad idea, Xavier, correct me, but imagine you have like a jungle champion where he could take over, like his ultimate would be he would take over once again a jungle camp to fight beside him, and he was able to buff them. Then it would make for a very complex kit. But let's say it's level 13 or something, so mid game towards maybe going towards an end game, and you're like, oh, okay, we need something tanky. So I'm taking over the Crux camp, and the Crux camp literally gives me 4 tanky units who don't really do that much, but they're able to body block all that stuff, and then your other abilities will kind of give you something to do with that camp. With the wolves, they would do more DPS. With the raptors, they could have like ranged attacks where they spit at you. So I think that I don't know if it's a good idea, but it would certainly be interesting.
I could see that working in the sense if you had like an Ivern style ability where you could prep a camp and effectively it would trade the camp for summons of a particular kind. I could see that working. I feel like it's a good enough idea that I could definitely see them having tried out something of that nature at some point.
Yeah. Okay, moving on then to... So we did the Pandoran Brew... Excuse me, we did the Pandoran Brewmaster. The Beastmaster. This was interesting, because I remember us saying, this is kind of what the old Yorick should have been, but they took it away from him, where his entire kit is summoning stuff, and his ultimate was... summoning the Kodos, right?
Yes. So I mean, each one of these, you've got the tank, you've got the range unit, you've got the scout unit as the 3 summons, and then the Stampede it's kind of weird. It's a bit like a sort of a rejig Starfall where he has to stand still and then creates this gigantic AoE attack, which nominally is kind of dodgeable because they physically come through and try and run you over, but it basically covered the entire screen. So if you were inside it, then it was really good. But it had a very limited range where you had to put yourself in danger to be able to do a decent Stampede.
True. I think it's a cool kit, but once again, it's a whole summon aspect where you run into some problems. But they kind of made old Yorick work, so maybe there is some... I'm kind of hoping that one day they find a way to have a champion that can summon stuff, be balanceable, and be playable.
Yes, I would be really interested to kind of go back over some of the older champions and try and sort of analyze why were they so problematic, just as a learning exercise. So this one here, the bear is incredibly straightforward. It's literally just it's just a tank.
It's a bear.
The Quill Beast, the only thing that's anything kind of interesting there is just that the cooldown and the duration are different from each other, so you can kind of build yourself a pack of them. And the hawk is a bit of feather ability. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's tricky because I think sometimes with the whole summon thing, I can see them making a champion where you kind of like you got buffs rather than actual units. But it's kind of that feels a little bit like cheating, but it might be where they end up eventually going.
I like the idea of you not having a as you said, you phrased it perfectly. Instead of having a buff, you have another unit to fight besides you. So imagine then that you sort of, instead of throwing projectiles at someone, you literally have in this case, the Quill Beast, like a boar who would spit something at you, or you're like a hawk, or it doesn't really matter, and he can attack you. The trade-off being, you have two people attacking one target, so there's potential for more DPS. The downside being, well, imagine the boar gets killed instantly, or you're able to summon to able to CC the boar or do something else with it, and then you're stuck with a character that doesn't really revolve around I am going to kill you purely by myself. So it's something that feels to me you can actually balance this, and there is a lot of skill in this.
I just had the thought in my mind. I don't think this kind of champion exists as of yet.
No.
Though I'm good. Like, tell me if I'm wrong about this. So, say you've got a champion who's got the Q and the W are summon blue orb, summon red orb.
Yeah.
And so there's and when you summon them, they just kind of circle around you. And so, you've got a blue orb active, and maybe you can have more than one active at a time. That you get a certain buff, like you attack faster, or you take less damage, or just something. And then the red orb does something else. So you've kind of got some combination of these. Maybe they share a cooldown together or something. That's not really the important thing. But so these give you passive effects that you can build up over time. And then one of your other abilities lets you sort of cash in all of these orbs to create another effect. So, say, like if you imagine like Syndra, how she has these sort of orbs going around her that she can use her ultimate to then sort of expend, though she doesn't actually expend them, but whatever.
Yeah, that she kind of... Okay, so you're building up those orbs to a sort of finale, and then you would use the finale to use all the orbs as a resource to make that ability stronger. Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that working.
But the
downs...
I was just saying, that's just I'm thinking that's a way to kind of have a lot of the aspects of the summons in there without actually having to physically have summons on the battlefield.
I like the idea, because you would be... because when you have a lot of orbs, it means you're quite strong, but using your very powerful, let's say an ultimate where you expend all the orbs, it leaves you very vulnerable because you don't have orbs, and you would need to design a character that, that is quite vulnerable or not really worth if he doesn't have any of these orbs. The one downside I do see is this could be a character that, for example, is being played in a certain lane where, okay, but he's so powerful with all the buffs from the orbs, and you're never going to be able to 1v1 him. Then again, there are certain champions in a top lane, for example, that are those kind of champions where, yeah, you can't really 1v1 them. All you can say he scales... Well, something you can do is you can say he scales very well into the late game, but is vulnerable in the early game. And then you have other 1v1 champions in the late game, for example, like a Jax or Fiora or a Camille that can deal with that later on. I think like a Camille could be able to one-shot the orbs. She jumps on an orb, literally has the empowered Q, one-shots the orb, and then problem solved, right?
Well, alright. Let's not get too deep into this right now.
Sorry if I'm going on too much.
that's right. I mean, it's just because there's a lot of stuff which we've gone through. Which we get to it. The Pit Lord had the Doom ability, which could only be used on non-champions, which already makes it a little bit awkward to kind of translate across directly. But it would kill that unit and then spawn a monster from it. So actually, to an extent, the whole thing which you were talking about, where you make jungle creeps into your pets, like that's functionally you could have that ability just be that. Those could be the same thing that you used it on a jungle creep, and then it spawns a demon that is your pet from that point onwards, and you could use it to take, like, I don't know, epic monsters or something.
It reminded me of a character that I actually love. The idea is so interesting. For people who have played StarCraft 2, it's in Heroes of the Storm. Abatur is in there, and Abatur literally he burrows into the ground. But I don't think I don't know. I haven't played the game for quite some time, so they might have changed it. But when I was still playing, you're not allowed to burrow into your own base. You need to be somewhere on the map, and you actually have this kind of parasite or this symbiote that you could use to latch onto an ally. And you use the symbiote to, kind of like Yumi does, but you use the symbiote to, either poke an enemy or make your enemy stronger. And you can detach the symbiote and put the symbiote on something else. So imagine you sort of have a supportive hero in League, and you would have to dig down somewhere, but you're not allowed. You can only dig down in the jungle, for example. That would be cool, right? So you can only dig down in the jungle, not in lane, not in your own base. So you're continuously supporting someone, and you have the symbiote. The symbiote is a unit. The symbiote walks to, for example, bot lane. It attaches on someone. Then it does something with the symbiote. Then, I want to roam mid. You detach the symbiote. The symbiote is killable when it detaches. And it runs over the ground, and for example, you can roam mid with the symbiote. But you're still vulnerable. Your physical form is still somewhere in the jungle. So if you get invaded by a jungler and he finds you, you're kind of screwed because he can just kill you straight out, and you're extraordinarily weak.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of potential with with that kind of stuff. It's so different than anything else that's currently in League that I'm surprised they haven't tried it.
True.
I feel like the Rot Portal not being ultimately a net positive for the game has probably thrown a bit of cold water on that kind of idea of having a sort of a champion who becomes like a deployable resource that you have to protect as a team. But I think there's definitely a lot of potential there. So that's the Doom stuff there. The rest of the kit is not particularly great. Alright, so we should probably get on to designing a champion fairly quickly. There are a couple ones I think that were worth mentioning. So from the Frozen Throne, Tinker we thought was a pretty nice one.
Yep, with the cluster rockets, true.
Yeah, so the cluster rockets are basically Heimerdinger's old rockets. Like literally, they just are.
Yeah, there's just no way around them. They're Heimerdinger rockets.
Yeah, I mean they do AoE, they stun. They've got travel time, they stun. I believe that's pretty much the old Heimerdinger rockets, except I think the Heimerdinger's ones didn't stun, but other than that, they will function the same. They've got the Pocket Factory, which I guess isn't really a Heimerdinger ability, but it creates
Easy Rot.
Yeah, it does. It's a little portable Easy Rot portal, which is quite nice. One thing which they do have here, which I thought was particularly interesting, just because I think probably Aphelios is the only champion I can think of who has this kind of ability, which is a passive that you can choose to upgrade that doesn't just make your abilities more powerful, as it would be if you just level them up. It gives them a different effect.
Yeah, this is something we've been. I think we discussed this in other champions we designed as well, where we said it's not an up or downgrade; it's a side grade to an ability, and nothing like this really exists in League. Besides from, as you said, Aphelios. I actually never thought of Aphelios that way, but you kind of side grade a certain ability, where you say, area of effect enlarges, or it gives a slow now, but in a trade-off is that it does less damage then. So something along those lines. That would be cool, where you have a champion that would kind of, it adds something to your kit in exchange for something else. So the trade-off being you have a lot of versatility.
Well, I think the trade-off here is that you just aren't leveling your main ability. So in this case, for the cluster rocket, say you could either go from 30 to 65 damage, so you're doubling up on the damage, or you could give them a bigger area.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if there probably was like a set. This is just the best way of doing it kind of approach to it, but it's still. I think that idea is kind of neat because it allows you. Because that's something that's missing from League of Legends right now is that you don't really have a huge amount of choices to when you're leveling. Like it's just a kind of you could almost in a lot of cases just be like, why even bother having points you put into levels because you never put anything different into them.
No, I agree. It's and I mean the one choice you have is okay, which ability are you gonna level? But you're always gonna level your ultimate level 6. I think they're very, very, very narrow. There's a very narrow window where you don't level your ult when you have the opportunity. And I'm purposely taking transform champions out of the equation, even though you still level the transform ability when you have the opportunity, because it kind of ties into the rest of the kit. But it would be interesting where you have, okay, so the only one who maybe has that is Udyr, where you can go Phoenix stance or Tiger stance. And that's always something that I found really interesting about Udyr, where you don't really have an ultimate ability, but you have two ways of playing him. You have multiple ways of playing him, but you have two ways of, taking the Phoenix ability or taking the Tiger ability.
I think it used to be an Udyr's kit as well, at least at some point, that he was able to have... I think they gave him some sort of buff for just taking them?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Might be the case.
So there's also the Robo-Goblin, so that's another transform ability. The transform in this case doesn't actually do a huge amount. It's kind of like, just makes you straight better.
Yeah.
The only disadvantage is that it made you unable to be healed. Because of being mechanical, so there is this sort of trade-off you're talking about with the ability.
I'm not sure. I don't know if you know this, because I'm not sure. So you're mechanical, so you can't be healed, but can you be repaired by workers?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So you were able to like get your little peons in there and do the work on them. Okay.
Yes, I guess I didn't remember ever doing that, but yeah, it says specifically you can use workers to repair them. I guess it's quite easy for workers to get horribly murdered. But yeah, I think it was kind of neat. Alright, so let's see. I think we have one more to cover before we actually get to the designing. Oh, I think it's a Fire Lord?
Yeah, Fire Lords. Or, Ragnaros.
Yes. Why? Who is this fella here?
Who is this fella here? Doesn't he wield a hammer? Oh, no, he doesn't. Otherwise, this is very much Ragnaros.
It's a shame it doesn't show us the actual model in the game. But yeah, no, he's absolutely just... Ragnaros is like, they barely even did anything to him, apart from just give him a hammer and make him bigger. So...
yeah! Oh, so true.
I mean, I guess he's the fire elemental, but... So we start to see in here some of the more... some more modern design sensibilities coming through. I think so some of the old Warcraft 3 heroes have got summons which just are straight summons. They don't do anything.
No.
But the Lava Spawn, it's kind of a sort of a little tanky unit that doesn't do a tremendous amount of damage, but it splits. If it stays alive long enough and gets enough hits in, it becomes 2 Lava Spawns, which is pretty neat. I think maybe the whole Lava Spawn splitting thing might have had some influence on the whole Zac idea.
Yeah, it might actually be. So you split into 4 units, even though the Zac blobs is
I guess it's one split into 4.
And it's the Zac blobs it's like a better Anivia passive in...
Yes.
The way I see the Zac passive is it's a better Anivia passive, because you need to kill 4 things instead of 1, and if one of them, if one of the blobs bumps way under the turret, it's more difficult to kill you, and you can literally teleport to one of the blobs and save Zac outright. So, but it's not particularly. It's not that the Anivia passive is bad. It's just Zac's passive is just a bit better.
So the Incinerate. So this is autocast. So this is something which again isn't in League of Legends, I believe, currently. It's like you can either just cast it or you can toggle it so it will just cast whenever there's a applicable target. But this one has the more complicated ideas going on, where I guess it's like the Nami auto attack buff, but it does stacking damage when you're hitting some. Like, so the first time you hit them, you take a certain amount of damage, but next time they will multiply up with this, and then also explode if they die, which is again more of an RTS thing because you're using this on smaller units.
Yeah, true.
But I thought this idea was kind of fun.
This was kind of, yeah, I thought it was a cool idea. And the volcano is, I mean, this I'm not gonna say they're, because that's not the case entirely. So the volcano is not something that they said, oh, this is cool, let's put it into Gangplank's kit. But the eventual result is very similar to what Gangplank's ultimate used to be, where you put down the ult and you could get unlucky and get hit 5 times in a row by a cannonball and take a lot of damage, or you can just run through the ultimate and not take any damage. Because that's, and they kind of changed that with, you know, it comes in waves now, which I think is a lot better. Because I was remembered where you could literally, someone is very low, I GP ult him and he just walks away, and if you had hit him once he would have died, but just, you know, luck of the draw.
Yeah, I managed to find a graphic of the volcano here, and it's literally these rocks coming out. They're right at the bottom of the article. These rocks coming out would literally, just like you say in the Gangplank Ultimate, they would literally have their own hitboxes that you would either hit them or avoid them. I think it did do fairly convincing area denial that you literally just couldn't walk into that space.
Yeah, true.
But it's fun.
I think for, at least, once again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I'm getting a good idea of what kind of champion we might design. The most interesting ability, for me at least, is still the frost armor. Sure. Where you would, and imagine, so what I'm thinking of, imagine you have a support that has the frost armor or some iteration of the frost armor, and his passive is whenever you get a takedown, or whenever you're participating in a kill, your maximum mana goes up by a number like 50 or 100. I think that's because we're going back to the roots and we're designing simple champions that can still be impactful and are fun to play. I think that is a very simple passive, but there is not something in League at the moment that has that. You had it in runes, and you still kind of have it in runes, where so you get more mana when you have a takedown, or you restore some of your mana when you have a takedown. But if you would have a takedown, you literally increase your mana pool, and it has no cap. As in, your champion doesn't necessarily you don't get any more damage or anything else. You're just able to spam your skills more, which is, I think, interesting.
Okay. Well, I realize I've run out of order, so we'll just do it for a second. So we've come pretty much to the end of this segment, which is looking through the Warcraft 3 champions. We'll take a very quick break, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes' time to actually get into designing a champion with these kind of ideas. So we've kind of been using this as a source. So stick around. The second half will be coming up. Let's see. I'll just make sure there's a actual timer on this next screen, because it will only be a couple of minutes while I grab some water and just make sure that we don't get too parched in the second half of things. But yeah, I think we've got a good amount of material there, especially if there's any of these abilities we've been talking about so far that are jumping out at you guys, and you think would be, hey, why not using that thing? And let us know in the chat in the intervening time. We'll be back in a couple of minutes' time for the actual champion design itself. So yeah, we'll see you there. Alright, welcome back everyone. Let's get to actually designing what we've all been waiting for. So, just to go through some of the things that we picked up from our first half, we've got the banishing effect to kind of create the idea that a champion would take more magic damage but less physical damage, or potentially no physical damage. We've got the Frost Armor or Mana Shield, which is where you're giving up your mana for defensive purposes, which is, I guess, kind of broadly just a buff, but specifically with tying it heavily to your mana pool. We have conjoined abilities, which is, abilities that kind of interact directly with each other, like the Dazzling Ignite. Taking over jungle camps and turning them into your creeps. Using summons as kind of things that attach to you rather than physical objects on the field. Side grades, and also sort of Scion-like stacking max mana rather than max health. So Exodus, from those ones, which of those ideas are you liking the most as to carry forward into our actual design?
The one I like the most out of all of these is the Frost Armor, like the Mana Shield, where you use mana to actually buff a certain hero, as in make that hero more tanky or take less damage. And you can maybe even put them in, I would say, put it in the same kits, but not in the same ability. You have kind of the banish effect, where you would do the opposite and let a different, let an enemy take more damage. But my thing is, what if you use like a tether, and use it you use a tether ability for both,
okay,
and you give them the max mana gain on takedowns. So that would be their actual passive. Once again, we're trying to make simple heroes. Or simple heroes, not per se, more of a reminiscent of older heroes, but still put them in a new jacket. So the passive is pretty simple. Whenever you have a takedown, you gain more max mana.
Yes, and we're going to avoid the ever popular trap of actually putting any numbers to this.
No, we're not going to put any numbers in this because that's not our job.
So, I think we'll keep it to the broad strokes. So I'm very tempted to kind of like come in and be like, but what about this? What about this? What about this? But no, we'll keep it to the broad ideas first, and then come back and try. Because I imagine when the right guys are doing the design, I can't imagine that they worry too much about the details to start with. So I like that idea. So we've got a champion who's kind of like who's built around these tethers. So I can already imagine an Alawi style champion where you've got a person who's got like noodly arms.
You can have like a ghostly apparition almost, or something along those lines, where it's or like an Alawi. Yeah, I can see that, where it's Alawi and it kind of extends. It has these. It would extend its arms or something of its body to latch onto you.
Yeah, they could. Okay, so. I think both of these things will seem to make sense. So yes, So you've got the sort of the protection tether, and you've got the damage or the debuff tether.
And you can. Sorry, go on.
So with the banish effect, we also had the idea that you could use this potentially on allies or enemies. So we've said. I guess there's sort of Sorry, I'm going to stop interrupting you and let you just get out whatever you want to say.
No, I'm also thinking with you right now, because it's difficult, because I imagine you using the banish effect on an ally so you already have something that gives them more armor, right? So let's say with this thing you can kind of you would give them more magic resist, but but you're not able to put a frost armor anymore on them. Okay. I think is a good trade-off, because having both seems a bit OP, where you can say, oh, here you don't take any more, you take no more magic damage, or you have a big magic resist buff and you also have a big armor buff. I think both are maybe a bit too OP. So let's say if you want to have the frost armor, you can put on anyone. But the banish effect, if you put a banish effect on someone, you can no longer put a frost armor on someone.
Yeah, I like that. Only one per target. Oh my gosh! Yeah. So I'm thinking of Zenyatta from Overwatch.
Oh yeah.
So what if when you've got these effects activated, we'll need to come back to the Frost Armor one a bit more. But so in this case, if the target gains magic resist but loses armor, maybe that this champion gains some percentage of that effect to themselves.
Yeah, I like it.
So when you're trying to go for a team fight, you're trying to position yourself so that you can get one on the enemy. Like, you're strongest when you've got one on your enemy and one on your ally, and that's the kind of positioning that you can keep, because you'll be getting the benefit. Like, if the Frost Armor like gives you some armor while you've got it activated or something.
Yeah.
You've got armor and magic resist from both things.
So would you say then with the Frost Armor you would also get the shield? Or a percentage at least, you would also get a form of shield. And with the banish effect, you would kind of steal some stats, I think would be cool.
Okay, what's that? So, for the Frost Armor Mana Shield one, so we've got a couple of different things here. So either, the most straightforward way I can think of is that we just make these abilities opposites of each other. So one gives armor and takes away magic resist, and the other one does the opposite, gives magic resist and takes away armor, and both of them give their respective, whatever they take away from the other person, they give to the champion as extra stats. Like, that's the most straightforward way I could think of doing it. But we've also got the whole thing of, if we wanted to make a mana shield kind of idea where it interacts directly with the mana bar in some fashion.
The thing is, you can make it even more complicated, where you say, okay, so if you want to make it really complicated, you say, okay, so both of these are skill shots. So you hit the Frost Armor, you use it on an enemy, you take away armor, you then can use that armor, you have a sort of buff, where you stole it from. You can use that to shield an ally.
Gosh, okay.
Yeah, but I think that would be cool, but I think it's too complicated. So you would just say, okay, so targeting them on an ally is just, point and click. Targeting them on a enemy is a sort of skill shot, which isn't necessarily difficult to hit. So it's like a projectile or something, and sort of like an Alawi. Alawi isn't super incredibly difficult to hit, but you can still dodge it if you want to.
I kind of like the idea, just to be a jerk. I kind of like the idea of making both of them a skill shot.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of to keep going on the Overwatch comparisons, I think it's it.
Anna. Yeah.
Anna. Yeah, Anna. I was thinking Anne, but I was like, that's not a champion's name.
No, I was thinking of the same thing, where like, maybe you should make a skill shot as well. Yeah. So,
actually, I kind of like the symmetry there. What I was thinking as well is what you could have is, with each of these abilities, they could have a reactivatable effect on them as well. So that when it has a passive thing when you attach it, but then you could have a further, when you are attached to someone, it turns into a different ability, which is something else.
Yeah, I don't like it. Do you want to add something on these two abilities, or are they fine as is?
Well, so let me just kind of give you so once connected, reactivate to
do something.
Oh, I mean, if we're gonna be stealing a library from Overwatch, we could just do it. This is maybe too complicated, but I suppose if we're working on like a siphoning champion, maybe the reactivate it lets you disconnect it from the person and give you something back based on whatever happened in the previous period. This might be too complicated.
Oh, no. What you can do is, so imagine these abilities, and we need to make this very clear. These abilities really suck out your mana pool. So you want to have loads and loads of mana. So it's like a very late game supportive hero. Okay, and they will suck out.
While these tethers are connected, they cost you
loads of mana.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can say, okay, so imagine when you reactivate them. So reactivation doesn't cost anything, but with the armor, with the Frost Armor, the more AD damage this particular champion did, or the more damage or AD damage, you can fine tune that. But the more damage this champion did, and you reactivate it, you disconnect the tether, you gain some mana back.
Okay.
So imagine you put a Frost Armor on an AD carry. This AD carry does very well in a team fight, or like kills 2-3 people. He's fine on his own now, but you're out of mana. So you reactivate the ability. He did 2k damage in team fight. You get a percentage of that damage dealt back as mana.
Yeah, so that was basically what I was thinking. That if we figure out, I don't know if it should be the same thing for both of them, but in some way, whether it's the amount, maybe it could be the amount of damage that if it's using an ally, the amount of damage that they dealt, like fills up a bar, which then you cash in by retracting the tentacle.
Yeah,
and for an enemy, it's how much damage they've taken.
And you can say, because you can create synergy. Because the thing is, let's make this a particularly slow hero, but you can only deactivate the ability, or can disconnect the tether. Sorry, you can reactivate the ability and then you get it back. But if you and your ally are disconnected by being out of range, you do not get this benefit. For example, if a Gragas would if a Blitzcrank pulls you, you do not get the benefit. You don't get the mana back. Or a Gragas ults you, you both fly away, you disconnect the tether, but you do not get the added bonus. Because I think that'd be cool, because then you have counterplay in that ability where, okay, these two are particularly strong in conjunction, these two champions, but if we literally drive a wedge between them, then they are not as strong. So then you have an issue, or they have an issue.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so we just need to figure out what benefits you get from the armor boosting the magic resist one. Like, I guess theoretically they could just be the same thing, which is either like if we're working on the so what kind of benefit would it be? Like either just getting a certain amount of mana back, or a shield, or some other effect?
Well, you can split them up. You can say with the armor boosting thing that you get mana back, or one of the two gives you mana back according to the damage that was dealt, and the other one could give you could give you a shield. For example, if this if you were attached to someone else and he did a load of damage with the magic resist tether, then you would get you would get a big shield according to the amount of damage they dealt. So you're literally you don't heal someone, but you're a protective champion. And you also don't, when you give them a shield sword, if you give them resistances, you're not giving them shields.
Yeah. Okay. So for the armor boosting one, I guess this is the kind of thing where we could easily just change these around if it doesn't.
Yeah, you can change these around.
So then you would get a personal shield, and then for this one, you would just gain mana back. Actually, yeah, I quite like this. I think this is a certain to get mana booster. Yeah, because there's already a lot of levers in here to be able to make the champion sort of like work slightly differently, like in terms of how much you get, how much of a shield you get, the ratio, conversion ratios, and stuff like that.
True. Then we need an E ability. So, do you want to make another tether, or do you want to have like a poking ability or something, or?
Let's see.
Or maybe some CC in there.
So right now, I feel like there probably needs to be some kind of mobility ability, because this champion feels like it's enormously important for them to be
mobile.
Their positioning is everything for them. So they probably need some. This is the kind of thing where ideally we'd have like a sort of a receptacle of like, hey, here's 1,000 different mobility abilities. Which one of these haven't we used yet? But if you're trying to get close and trying to stay close to people, feels like that's what you're trying to do with the champion. So we could just blinking or leaping is fine. But is there anything more clever we can do than that?
Ooh, I have something clever.
Okay.
Um, since it's a mana draining, so you get a speed boost, but you once again drain mana. Or is that too much on the nose? Is that like, nah, it's too much already. I can get that it's not particularly original anymore in this kit, so you could have something else where you literally, you just have a sort of ability.
What about? Okay, this might just not be done this way because it doesn't work very well.
Yes.
But what about a channeled ability that gives you, you're talking about like spend mana to get mobility. What about a sort of a channel which lets you build up the amount of, like, the longer you hold it down, the more mana you spend, and then you just become X amount faster for however long, based on how much mana you're willing to commit at that point. So you could just sort of tap if you wanted a very small speed boost, but the longer you spent, maybe you slow down or something. So it's like a bit like a Vi sort of charge effect.
Yeah, cool. You can so you have like a charge effect, and you would spend more mana the farther you would like a slingshot almost, then like Zek-y sort of.
Oh yeah, that could work. Yeah. So like a mana slingshot where the cost of the ability is dependent on how far you want to go.
Yep, I like it. Yeah, it's a good idea.
So so it's basically a Zac slingshot, but with mana cost increasing based on distance or duration channeled, mana cost and distance traveled based on the duration of the channel. I kind of like that idea. So presumably if you got to max, like if you ran out of mana at that point, it would just not charge further.
Yeah, the duration of the channel, by the way.
Oh yeah. Channel.
Okay, so do we want to give him some form of CC with his ultimate then? And maybe some damage and CC with his ultimate, because I think he doesn't. You can say the tether does some damage when it connects, and you can say the slingshot when you would land on. Do you want to stun someone when you land on? But that's very, very similar to Zek's slingshot ability, though.
Yes, I mean, given that there's champion based around positioning, like a kind of vortex ultimate, I could imagine working well for them, just like pulling people in, or kind of like, it's not particularly original, but the idea of like sort of a little bit like an Alawi ultimate, as much as I very much hesitate to get close to Alawi, considering we're dealing with a tentacle champion. But
yeah,
like, what about like a sort of blaze storm kind of a vortex effect that follows you around and just pulls people in?
Kind of like more the magnetic effect and that Rel has.
Yes.
Which, by the way, because I saw Rel being played in Belgian League this week, it is, especially in the Spectator, it's extraordinarily it's with her skin. It's conjunction with like the Spectator, her skin. So it was extraordinarily difficult in hectic fights to see when Rel had her ability active. So if any rioters would ever be watching this, would there be a way, at least in the Spectator, to kind of, for us low-level casters, to kind of make it easier to see? Thank you very much, at least.
So
but yeah,
you make a good point that we need to avoid just making Rel's ultimate, because I'm basically suggesting that.
Or we can say that tethers become like. I'm not sure if this would work. So the tethers become solid objects, can become something where allies can run through, but an enemy can't. Something along those lines.
What about the idea of, like, this is pretty wild. I'm thinking of a Mega Red, or Mega Red, from the X-Men. His kind of ultimate ability, Marvel versus Capcom, was that he would just go completely bonkers with tentacles. What about the idea that I keep just basically thinking this champion is Alari. So what if she just started shooting out tentacles randomly from her, but like a mass of them? So,
okay.
Like, so it basically just made like a super version of her basic abilities where it would just shoot out kind of like in random directions tentacles, which would then attach to people and then start doing. But you would. But you wouldn't.
No, I get what you're trying. So I think I get what you're trying to say. So you cast the ultimate ability. It would follow you around, or it's a zone you put on the ground, and tentacles will come out of it, and they are slow to medium moving, so you can still dodge them. And if you get hit by them, you basically have a boo. It's one of your first two abilities, but on steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't cost you mana to be able to maintain it, but effectively it works. It works the same way, so you can keep sort of. Actually, yeah, I can see this kind of working quite well. So, so it's basically like a sort of a Gangplank ultimate in terms of it's an AoE that starts throwing up loads of tentacles or loads of tethers that will try and connect to people, and then you can keep activating the. I guess probably what it would need to be is, I think the only problem with having them be actual regular tethers would be that it would stop you from using your Q and your W, because you'd be constantly having small amounts of those buffs coming in. So I think they would probably just need to give you that effect passively, rather than making you have to activate them over and over again.
You could okay, so one thing you could do it is, and because I think this is more your kind of a conceptual idea, so I'm gonna see if you like it, and if you don't like it, just toss it away. So imagine if you have your armor, your frost armor available. So you have a frost armor ability, you use your ultimate, then you put down a zone with tethers. You literally, everyone in that zone, every ally in that zone can be tethered. It drains your mana, but it's an enormous, like, it gives them a buff. It gives them like the armor ability to the max. So the armor ability is steroids. If you would have the magic, do you like that? Because you could do the same with like the magic resist tether as well. Or is it like, nah?
I think that feels like that could work as part of the ability. So yeah, I suppose if the if in that area that actually no, because they're working quite well. So if we kind of sort of, so we still got the same idea. We've got like a sort of Gangplank-sized area that fills with, or possibly smaller. It might need to be smaller.
Well, you could say Zyra, like Zyra, and also because the reason I'm saying Zyra ultimate is also the travel speed of Zyra would be ideal for this ability, for the tethers to come out. So you see the animation, and the travel speed of the tethers is similar to Zyra's tethers, Zyra's thorns that come out, because then you're able to dodge those thorns. You're able to dodge the tethers, but you need to be, if you're right in the middle, you're probably not, unless you flash out.
Okay, so to allies and enemies, so they'll. So this is where I'm starting to think about stuff we can do to sort of really level up what we're doing, to try and think more in depth to what we're doing. So if we can figure out what this ability is, the thing that occurred to me was it makes quite a big difference with this ability as to how long of a range does it have. Like, how far away can you cast it from? Because it really feels like that changes what it's intended for. Like, if it's really short range, then presumably you can't then use it to block someone's escape. You just use it as a kind of a primary engage kind of thing. Right.
I think you could say the area of effect is quite like Gangplank Ultimate, or just a little bit shorter. But the casting range is quite small. Like, it's definitely not global, because otherwise there you have either this ability is, or not even semi-global, because otherwise the ability is not, you'll never be able to balance it, because either it needs to be extraordinarily unimpactful or it's just too impactful, one of the two. So let's say the casting range is quite narrow.
Okay, so the thing which kind of threw me off when I was thinking about this was if the tethers are coming out of the ground, they do need to probably have a different effect than the base tethers, because if like, my initial idea was that there'd be a bunch of random tentacles or tethers, but if they work like the armor booster or the magic resist booster, you'd just be randomly giving your allies and opponents more magic resist or less magic resist, and more armor or less armor, and that doesn't seem like that's really accomplishing anything.
What if what if the ultimate tethers do not have the drawback?
They
like
just reduce.
Just boost, yeah.
Okay. Oh, maybe it could be a thing where. Oh, okay. This is a bit weird, but so let's say I don't know, for the sake of argument. So the armor boosting one is red, and the magic resist one is blue. So maybe when you cast the ultimate, you end up with like if you imagine like a yin yang kind of symbol.
Yeah.
And you can see, and when you cast it, you then get the ability to rotate it, so that you can choose what part of this circle is going to be filled with the armor resist ones or the magic resist ones.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's a cool idea. Yeah.
So that when your allies are in the magic resist part, or within either part, they just gain the benefit, and the enemies just gain the negative part of it. So you can put, if your team's going to get blown up, you can put the magic resist stuff closer to your team, or if you're trying to blow them up, you can put the magic resist drain closer to them. So, what do you think of that? Do you think that works?
I think that would work. Yeah.
Okay, so yin and yang set up with half of the AoE being armor boosters or armor tethers, and the other half being magic resist tethers. So you're saying that, so allies would gain only the benefits, and enemies only the drawbacks. And you can rotate the ultimate before casting. To change orientation. Okay, we don't have any names for anything currently.
I mean, I think I like. You could say one is Frostarm, or even though it's red. Then you will go into thematically of the champion, right? And you can say, you can call the passive. Okay, first of all, what kind of champion is it? Like thematically, what kind of style is she? She's like a ghostly apparition then?
I don't know, honestly. Like, Alawi is, like, it's already her to an extent. I think. Well, what kind of thematic stuff would make sense for these tethers? Like, we've got Ionian stuff, and we've got. This is so far at least. So we've got Karma with the Ionian stuff. We've got Rel with her tether as well, which is kind of like the mechanical-ish sort of one. And then we've got Alawi, who's the Bilgewater style.
Or you can have a Piltover where it's a mechanical hero.
Okay, I could go for that.
Yeah, you have a mechanical hero, and you could call the passive literally. Then it instead of using electricity, it uses mana. And, it's a hextech. It's a hextech thing, right? It's right, a combination between magic and technology. And then she would shoot out a sort of a beeping, or like a device. That's the thing she shoots out. She shoots like a receiver to her transmitter. So you know what I mean? So for example, with the armor boosting thing, she would shoot out a receiver towards an ally. If it sticks on the ally, then great, because then she sends you mana to use to activate the ability. And then you have a tether, the red tether.
Yeah, my drawing is definitely not up to happy.
No, okay. So imagine it's like a Piltover-ish hero, and could be a Zonite or Hextech tether. Careful, don't make it look too much like Camille's hookshot. Yeah, a taser gun. I actually like it. So it could be like a taser gun. So, and the passive would be adaptive battery or something, or adaptive.
Yeah, adaptive battery. I like that.
Yeah, adaptive battery. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know. I like this theming. It's definitely more compelling. We haven't actually even figured. So this, it sounds like we're probably a support with this.
Yeah, we're definitely. I think we're definitely support. Yeah.
So let's get that in there, song, because I realize we haven't actually specifically talked about that as of yet.
So then adaptive battery, the tether, the red tether gives you magic. Okay, so you could say.
I think Zornite would work just because there's not enough Zorn stuff in the game.
True, I agree.
I think the idea of sucking life force out of people and things is probably more Zornish than Piltover.
And then you have armor, so you can say magnetic shield, or something like the idea is that it would repel something toward something.
I think Siphoner or something.
Siphoner. But Siphon is that it would. Siphon has the context that it would, you draw something in, while with the shield you would push something out. Or
Conduit then.
Conduit, yeah.
Like, I mean, at this point, like the name could basically just be anything.
The name could be anything. You could say conduit, yeah.
So I guess we'll just call it armor conduit until
armor conduit.
Happy comes up with a better name. Good at marketing stuff.
The magic could be like anti-magic shell or something. I think it's a cool idea. It's also a card in Hearthstone, so but still, I think anti-magic shield is pretty on the nose.
Let's see. So this gives you. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, I mean, Petricite is really overused, like as a thing, but it's like, I think we could just call it a Petricite conduit.
Yep.
Like,
true.
I mean, that's pretty on the nose as far as all this stuff goes, but like, who cares? So we could probably go pretty wild with the mana slingshot thing. Rocket boosters or something?
Rocket boost. I was about to say mana blast, or you could have mana blast sounds like an attack though. So mana fueled rockets or something along those lines, or takeoff, or just literally takeoff.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
I think that works.
Yeah.
Okay. So I really like the adaptive battery. That sounds like a real ability.
That sounds cool. The rest is like placeholder names, but
yes.
And then the ultimate is, I think Tetherstorm isn't bad actually.
That's
honestly,
pretty bad.
Or Conduit, although you already have Conduit. Okay, I'm thinking of something from my engineering days, because I have a bachelor in electronical engineering. So
I do.
Is there something that that you can use? I'm thinking.
Let's see. ACDC, because it's all about electricity. Oh boy.
I mean, okay. You could call it superconductor or something.
Isn't that already an ability called superconductor? I'm amazed if there isn't.
I think there isn't an ability. There is no ability that is called superconductor. Pretty sure.
No, apparently there isn't. Okay, sure. Let's steal it.
Let's steal it. Or
galvanic strudel.
Actually, that's cool. Yeah, I like it. Happy galvanic strudel.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, super good. Or galvanic superconductor. How about?
Sure. Let's put it in somewhere.
It's something that the designers would like. Let's put it in because the casters will hate calling the name out, and it's kind of an inside joke we have at this point. So, galvanic superconductor.
Yeah, I mean it is a very generic ability name, but I mean we have not done a great job on ability names here. But yeah, I think this is an interesting champion. Like, I could see this being an actual thing.
High volt conduit for oh yeah, that's cool. High volt conduit for maybe the armor one.
Yeah, that's high volt is definitely more exciting.
Okay, let me see. Okay, I think I'm gonna look something else up. Actually, I'm just gonna look up my old textbook. I think it's lying around here somewhere, but it's like a massive textbook, electronical engineering. You can whack someone to death with it if you really want to, which I don't recommend because, I mean, for obvious reasons.
Don't ask why they've got dungarees on.
No.
There's no good answer.
Inway files. Let me take a look.
So they're kind of like a Dr. Octopus kind of aesthetic going on here.
Yeah. Okay. So
in fact, they might as well just put in some extra tentacles, and which can just wave around. Because if we're gonna go Doc Ock, we might as well just go full bore.
True.
I guess the hat is more of a Caitlyn thing, but whatever. Let's put a.
I might have something for the second ability, transistorized defense.
Ooh, transistorized.
Transistorized defense or Hextech. Hextech Withstand is actually cool. Yeah, I think Hextech Withstand is also quite cool.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fun.
We need you in here for those ability names, because besides Adaptive Battery, all of these were pretty much your idea. Hextech Transistor is also something you can do, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, these are... I'll note it down as... I think a lot of these are all just, like, as good as each other.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if... Does Zorn have, like, a different thing than Hextech? I'm not sure. Okay. I'll just note that down as a alt ability name. Like, yeah, I mean, none of these are, like, necessarily super tied to even one of those specifically. But, alright. So, I think we're pretty close to being done here. So we just need some lines which we can audition for our own character.
Oh, we need 3 lines. So we can do something with electricity and electronics, right? I think that would be probably some funny lines with him.
Okay, I feel like you should be able to have a much better handle on this stuff than I would.
I want to do with some. Okay, you'd have something with I'm positively charged or something. But then you have already have the I'm positive joke with Vladimir. Her name could be Alva.
Oh yeah.
Or I think there's a famous
Thomas Alva Edison. Huh.
Oh yeah, great.
Okay.
Yeah, like it.
Sold.
Okay, so voice lines.
The Zornite something. The Zornite support currently.
Okay.
Let's make at least one of them a death line, because that's usually good for a larf.
You could say, you have something on the lines. Nobody can take me down. I just resist. No.
Sure. I mean, that is. Sure, let's just go with that. All right.
Oh, I've got one.
Yeah.
Ohm, sweet Ohm.
Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, that's the recall. That's the recall one.
Yeah. Ohm, sweet Ohm.
Charge, yeah. I mean, charge works. Like, I think you could probably build like the whole electricity aspect into them just by effects and like the animations and stuff. All right, Ohm Sweet Home is good. I think charge is okay. It's a little.
Charge is okay.
Got any other good ones like the Ohm Sweet Home though? Because that's.
Honestly, I'm looking through my my old online courses, see if I can find anything.
I'm gonna Google for engineering jokes.
But I remember we used to say Ohm Sweet Ohm sometimes in like labs we had, which is kind of cool.
Oh wait, I want engineering puns, not jokes.
Actually, I'm just gonna do the same engineering puns. Probably faster.
Haha, this is more than just a tickle. I mean, yeah, I think Victor has a lot of the resistance jokes already.
Yeah, true. You could say I wasn't wired that way or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Or when you connect to someone with a high volt conduit, you can say you have a lot of potential.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Let me just do one more line. Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll both audition for Happy with our reading of these lines, and you can choose which one does the third.
True.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, yeah, I mean, that hurts. It's pretty lame.
Okay, so for the death animation,
this did not spark joy. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. For the death animation, is then this does not spark joy, or this did not spark joy?
Yeah, this did not spark joy. I'm assuming that's a Mei.
A Mei, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll have to do. So we need the title. So it's Alva the Zornite. Renegade.
The Zonite. I mean, conduit, but that's so lame.
Sure.
The Zonite conduit. Why not? I mean.
All right. So let's see. So what are we thinking for the voice delivery here? We've got kind of snarky kind of. I guess the thing is for Zornite, it's much more varied, I think, as to what kind. They don't really sort of have an overall overriding character. I think Caitlyn sort of takes over the Piltover stuff because we assume everyone talks like her there. But whether they actually do, I'm not sure.
So Zon is kind of, and once again, the lore master Happy can correct me here. Zon is where they kind of experiment very liberally on themselves and on other people. So. Mundo is from there, Echo's from there, Twitch, Urgot, Zack, Zix, Victor. So they're kind of, okay, they have technology, but there's no moral limits to what uses those technology has. Sexy, raspy voice.
So that's our direction from our director here, is deliver with a sexy, raspy voice. So we'll do each of the lines, we'll do one after the other. We'll swap between who does it first, who does it second.
Okay.
So do you want to go first on the first line or first on the second line?
I'll go first on the first line.
All right, so cool. So Happy.
Let me get my voice a little bit raspy though. All right. Everybody scream! Okay, there we go.
All right, I'm ready.
Om sweet om.
That was a good voice. It sounded almost exactly like Draven.
Oh damn.
It was good though. I enjoyed it. All right. Let's see. Riz. I'm just I really think let's talk like this. I don't think we can do raspy, sexy voices. Sweet no, that's all.
I can give you one more shot if you want. You can.
Okay, that was pretty terrible.
Okay.
I'm trying. The thing is, I can only think of sort of posh voices, which don't really work for this.
Which you can do, because I mean, I don't have I don't have a British accent, so if you want to go British, by all means go.
Do Damien. Wait, what was Damien's voice? I don't remember ever doing Damien.
Damien. Oh.
It was Can you remind me, Happy, what kind of voice that was? Actually, no. I'll just do my only good voice.
Okay.
Oh, could be a fallen Piltovian. Yeah, I'll just do my Southern Belle voice because that's the only one I can do. Battle. Sweet om.
Oh, that was good. Sexy, raspy, ...
Sweet. No, I don't know how to make that. Okay, so second line is, you have a lot of potential.
Oh, we're doing Southern. Okay. I'm going that way as well then.
All right, cool. Open
You have a lot of potential.
You took a really good impression of like
Draven.
Darius or Draven.
Yeah, I know.
All right, so Happy.
Yeah.
What's your verdict? Are we going Southern Belle or are we going Draven?
Oh my.
Wait, do you want to give it another try in more of a Southern Belle voice and less of a Draven voice?
Sure.
The Draven voice is really good.
Okay, well, let's go real Southern.
You need to get yourself in the spirit of things.
Yeah, because the thing is, my nieces both originate from Georgia, so I'm trying to really copy a little bit from them. It's not particularly like this, but sometimes you kind of have to imagine a little bit of that.
Alright, I'm imagining. Immerse me.
Immerse me, so I'm going to try the first one once again, and it is...
Alright.
Om, sweet Om.
You're still doing the growl.
Om, sweet Om. Oh, no.
Om, sweet Om.
I keep defaulting to Draven. I'm really sorry. I'm not a voice.
Drop the rasp. Just go for the Georgia voice.
Okay. Om, sweet Om.
Why, you're doing a great job of this kind of voice.
Yeah. Om, sweet Om.
Just try and hit it as high as you can. That way, at least you'll get away.
As high as I can. I can try high. I can give him like a kind of nerdy voice where I say, Om, sweet Om.
Okay. That was, yeah, definitely better.
Okay.
And the second line?
You have a lot of... That's 6. No, that's 6. Try again. You have a lot of potential.
I actually like that quite a lot.
Okay.
Like that... So, Happy, the final vote lies with you. I actually quite like your delivery. I think that managed to hit the raspy stuff a lot better than I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a certain sort of idea with the Zornite stuff that they're kind of working around dangerous chemicals all the time. So sounding like you're a heavy smoker, like sort of works. Oh. You just gonna become.
You have a lot of. Oh, no. Not doing it.
I mean, Exodus will suffer for his art here. He will literally die on stream just to make the voice.
Not doing it.
Alright, I feel like Happy's leaning towards your delivery, so if you could give us a straight read-through of lines 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, here I go. I'm gonna try and get into character again, because this is something, I think it was something along these lines, and am I hitting the mark, or am I completely missing?
Try and hit, you're right, that you're trying to hit high, but you're trying not to go so high you end up in yodel.
Okay, so let's try this again, and the first one was when I'm recalling, I say, Om, sweet Om, you have a lot of potential. This did not spark joy.
Nice. And that will be our clip from today.
Okay.
For Alva, the Zornite Conduit, who plays in support and is basically the new Dr. Octopus from the Homecoming movie.
Yes.
Spider-Man movie. Alright, cool. Yeah. Alright.
Spoiler!
That was really cool. I'm really glad. I hope they do more stuff with that. Alright, but we are done for now. So thank you guys for coming and joining us. This will be posted up on YouTube afterwards. And yeah, we'll hopefully be back in a couple of weeks' time with our next iteration. I think researching stuff from Warcraft 3 worked pretty well, so we might well, though it takes a lot more work up front, it's definitely something to look back on for any future one. Maybe just going into other games and stealing ideas from them.
True. I actually like us stealing ideas from other games. It's kind of cool.
Yes, I think there's a lot of good stuff there. Exodus, was there anything that you wanted to promote while you're here?
Well, you can always watch my raspy, not so sexy voice on for the Belgian League, and it's on Twitch on the Proximus Esports NL. Do also check out the Proximus Esport FR. Those are my French colleagues, and they also do a fantastic job. What you can also do is go on the 4 Elements stream. I am no way sponsored by 4 Elements, but I am doing my Open Tour project for the Benelux, so the Benelux Open Tour project, where you are also, or at least casted this last week as well, Peter, and that was on the, once again, 4 Elements stream, along with the guys from SQ1, and they did a fantastic job as well, so you can follow the Open Tour there. That's all I want to plug. Yes,
I'm not able to be involved this week, but I hope we'll be able to for the next couple of weeks, but yeah. For the rest of you guys who may not be aware, I stream TFT every day. I've got a TFT tournament coming up this Saturday morning, which I'll post a link to in the chat, which is free to enter. This because I've got no money, there's no prizes, so the tournament is based around socializing. So everyone plays in a voice lobby with each other, and once the tournament is done, we go across and play Among Us or TFT or whatever it is together. So it's more of a getting to know you thing than it is a super competitive tournament. So hopefully it's good for people who are maybe a little unconfident to go in and face off against the best people, and all that stuff. Yeah, I think that's about it from me. Sure. So thank you so much, Exodus. Thank you for your suggestions and for your wise judgment, and also great painting names. But yeah, we'll see you guys around.
Yeah.